Hey there, Impact Zone fam, how's it going for today? We are back again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and we're going to talk about the Hardy's title reign. Apparently, this is something that I tend to forget about. The main reason for the Hardy's title reign ending as it did recently was because, well, TNA is going back to Canada. Jeff can't go to Canada. So, yeah, basically they were like, oh, well, shit. What are we going to do? You know, I guess we've got to take the titles off the Hardys for a little while just so we've got tag team champions in Canada while we're there having our broadcasts and having our tapings and whatnot, all of that sort of stuff. So, like, I always forget about that stuff, so I do apologize to the people that do know all about that stuff and keep it in their mind 24/7 somehow. But yeah, I tend to forget about that stuff. Yeah, so that was I think the main reason behind the Hardys losing the belts, which I'm not that much for the Hardys retaining the titles, but I just didn't feel like it made any sense for them to lose the belts at this point, for multiple reasons. We already talked about a lot of that, you know, in one of the recent episodes there, actually the review episode mainly, I believe. But still, I still think, just say, well, the Hardys aren't going to be there. Or maybe Matt's just going to be there or something. I don't know. It's crazy to think, oh, yeah, well, we're just going to take these titles off you. Just go with a couple of weeks without them being on TV. They're going to be off TV anyway, or whatever. You're only going to have Matt anyway. So, like, I asked what would be the difference. The only difference would be that Matt would have one of the tag team titles, I guess. And we'd be like, well, where's Jeff? Or whatever. Like, wake up, Jeff. I feel like the bloody Wiggles or something. Wake up. Where's Jeff? There's something that's like that, where it's like, where's such and such? I can't remember what it is now. But anyway, maybe it's just Waldo. I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, I was very stuck in that mindset of like, oh, nothing's happening or whatever. So I was very surprised by it, certainly as well. But still, I do think, like, again, this shows the lack of foresight or the lack of, like, planning or the lack of understanding around, you know, some of these things. Like saying, well, the Hardys can't go to Canada anyway, so why are we having them win it at Slammiversary and then having them drop it a month later? Instead of saying, okay, well, they'll win them at Bound for Glory, and then we'll go on from there or do whatever else it is we do from there. You know what I mean? Instead of having that program with the Righteous last a little bit longer or whatever else it is, just being like, oh yeah, we're just going to put the belts back on them or whatever. And then, oh shit, we forgot, oh yeah, we're going to Canada and Jeff can't come to Canada, so we're going to take the titles off of him. That, or say, oh well, we'll just keep them as champions. Or like, because you did that once before, I think, where Matt brought, I think it was Leon. No, they were challenging for the belts. I think that's what it was. Maybe, I can't remember. Either way, something where Matt was like there in Canada, and they got Leon, I think it was, to fill in for Jeff, effectively. So, you know, like, it is one of those things of, you know, it is what it is. Understandable, bro. Let's move on or whatever to an extent. But yeah, it is just that level of pre-thought that I feel like should have gone into, like, going, okay, well, why are we doing it here, or why are we doing that there? You know, again, because again, like I said, the system, Bear Bronson and Brian Myers, maybe it was partly as well because Bear got injured as well a bit after that, I think, or was, you know, a bit sore or whatever. But still, I still think it's a bit silly just to be like, well, take the belts off of you guys so quickly after you've won them, just to put them back on the Hardys, just to take them off the Hardys again. And yeah, it is a bit silly. And like I said, it is a bit crazy to be thinking, well, not to say that Nick Nemeth doesn't deserve to be a tag team champion or anything, but I don't know, being dual champion at the same time, it's a real big feat. And like I said, how are you going to manage saying, let's get the Nemeths to defend the tag team titles, but also have Nick Nemeth defend the world title? You know what I mean? So unless you're going to be like in the middle, or well, at the beginning of the show, the tag team titles are going to be defended. And then at the end of the show, obviously, your main event for the world title. So you're trying to give Nick Nemeth as much time to recover or to whatever from the tag team match that they would have had in the beginning of the show, effectively, to the end of the show, so that, yeah, again, it feels a bit more even, or saying, hey, well, also his opponent on the night has to have another match or whatever else it is, sort of thing, so they're kind of like on even footing somewhat, to an extent. I don't know. Or are you just going to be like, oh, okay, you know, the Hardys are going to win them on a random TV taping, which I don't think makes any sense, and I don't really want to see the Hardys win the titles again. I think it's, like I said before, it's already played out too much. But the problem is, it's like, well, there's hardly any other teams, but maybe we're getting maybe a new one-ish, maybe, we'll wait and see. But yeah, it really is that where it's like, well, bro, what are we doing? Again, you should have said, okay, well, we're going to Canada or whatever after this or whatever. And again, like, the Righteous were the main antagonists for a lot of that time period. So instead of, like, again, the system just being there and being a third wheel kind of thing, you should have had the Righteous be the champions. You should have had the Righteous retain the titles for a while, up until Bound for Glory, and then be like, oh, okay, now the Hardys come along, beat the Righteous after all the shenanigans and whatever else it is and whatnot, and now we get to see, okay, you know, here we go in that match, and hopefully by then as well you've pulled your finger out a bit more and said, okay, we've got to refocus on our tag team scene. We can't just have the Hardys and the Righteous and that's kind of it, and maybe we have a couple other teams kind of, but, and again, like, I don't understand what the issue was, where it was like, because like BDE and Swan are sort of a team, sort of, but they have been of late a little bit more. But again, where it's like, well, you start to scratch your head and go, because obviously you can sometimes put the two and two together sort of thing in the wrong way, perhaps. But it is also like, well, why wouldn't you use somebody like BDE? Because again, like, that guy has a lot of YouTube followers. So again, saying, hey, we've got this, you know, massive YouTube star over here on our show, that just gets more eyeballs on the show in general, even though the show is, you know, getting good eyeballs on it, but still just getting those extra eyeballs sometimes that go, oh yeah, I haven't really watched TNA in a long time, or I haven't really watched it ever, or whatever else it is. That sort of stuff is always like a good thing. But yeah, like, again, I just don't know. I don't know what the booking was like sometimes. And again, this is, like I say, it does feel very much like, oh, they just book, you know, whenever they go to the tapings, they just say, okay, what are we going to do till the next tapings? Oh, this is what we'll do, then this is what we'll do, then that's what we'll do, and then, okay, all right, well, we'll see you guys at the next taping, all right, bye, you know, sort of thing. That's what they do. Like, they don't think, oh, well, instead of like, well, we have 2 tapings ahead of us or 3 tapings ahead of us or whatever until lockdown or until Bound for Glory, until whenever. Okay, well, right, what are we going to do up to Bound for Glory, and then what are we going to do, or whatever, what are we going to do up to lockdown, then what are we going to do to Bound for Glory, you know, like having that plan of already thinking ahead, right, well, what are we going to do, why are we going to do this, why are we going to do that, what's going to happen here, then what's going to happen, who's going to challenge for this, or what story are they going to be doing, or whatever, you know, like not just going, we don't have a real, like, obviously you can start one, but again, you should already have that story ready to go and be like, okay, let's go with it, you know. So there should already be people there, again, for some of those people that need those stepping stones or whatever else it is to build that momentum. Same thing for anyone and anything. It's like Zaya, it feels like there's nobody, she doesn't have a story for anybody, and nobody has a story for her. It's like, okay, you're just there, you just exist, you're just the champion, you know, you had a great story before, but now it's like, maybe, like, again, like, you should actually, like, play off more of, everyone knows she's, you know, a Viperess. You know, everyone knows you can't trust her or whatever else it is or whatnot. But for some reason or other, they're always seemingly forced into working together with her or whatever else it is and things like that. So that then you can have that more, again, where it's like, she turns her back on everybody or whatever, or is somebody ready for her to try to turn her back on her, sort of thing. So, you know, that sort of stuff where it's like you can play with that a little bit more, add it to the story a bit more, you know, like that's the same thing for anyone. Okay, what is this person all about? We showed that they are untrustworthy. Okay, all right, whatever. We've shown that this person's arrogant, whatever else it is. So every time that we're doing something, we have to play off the thing that we've kind of set for that person or for whatever this part of the character or this part of the story is. This person's completely arrogant, you know, like Nick Nemeth, very arrogant and whatnot. So again, all right, so we've got to play off of that. So that will either, again, cost him sometimes or whatever, get in the way, or you know, he's actually got to get serious. He's actually got to get into that mode of, no, I really am that damn good, but, you know, I've got to not be just, you know, being too arrogant, being too cocky and being too whatever. No, I've got to get serious because that's what it takes, you know, and that's showing, again, that's what it takes to really be the best in the world, being a bit more serious, being a bit more like whatever, like early on in matches you can be a little bit more arrogant, but, or whatever, but again, you shouldn't be throughout the match. You should be going, okay, cool, you know, I've got to get serious. He's kicked out of 3 different things, 4 different things, right? You know, that always happens, or pretty much always happens. But again, right, I've got to get more serious. I've got to get like in there to do what I'm going to do. So yeah, but anyway, that's pretty much it, I think, for this one. I just wanted to come on and have a bit of a discussion about this because, yeah, this completely slipped my mind. And like I saw it being posted about and whatnot a few days ago or whatever else it was, or even maybe a week ago, actually, nearly now, I suppose. But yeah, like I didn't really think about it for a while, and like there's been other stuff going on and whatnot, so I haven't got things together as quickly, as often as what I have wanted at times. And just things happen and whatnot. It is life sometimes where the other priorities, as I say, people forget how many other things are like just life in general or whatever. But, you know, like again, I've got several other projects on the go that I'm trying to organize and trying to work with and trying to get off the ground and all of this other stuff. So again, it's not as simple as saying, well, I'm dedicating all my time and energy and effort to this to this thing and whatnot. But anyway, guys, yeah, that's it for this one. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and yeah, I hope that you will all be well and be able to join me again in another one.